Okay, I'm going to continue now. So as I was saying, um, like I don't refer to people who have gone to heaven as dead. I mean, wherever you are, if you're in heaven or in hell, you're alive. But I'm talking about people who that we know that have gone to heaven. I never refer to them in the past tense. It doesn't make, to me, it no longer makes sense. Especially because of the things that I've seen. It doesn't make sense to refer to somebody who's gone to heaven as dead. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, for example, guys, okay, your friends, right? Say like you have one of your friends who is visiting at your house, and they just happen to be, for example, in another room, and you're, for example, you're in the living room and your friend is in another room. Maybe they are in a lounge area in your room, in your home, and you're on the telephone and you're talking and everything, and to somebody, a relative or somebody or a friend. And so you're just telling this person on the phone that, oh, I'm just hanging out with so and so who's by visiting me, and yes, and but they were a very nice person, and they did a lot of nice things for me, and so yeah, they were just really nice. So guys, do you understand what I'm saying? It's like talking about another person who's still here on the planet, only in another room, in the past tense. It doesn't make sense because no matter where they are, they're still alive. Do you understand? So that's the same thing for your loved ones or families and friends who are in heaven. Okay, it's the same thing. Don't talk about them in the past tense because they're alive. They're alive. Okay? So just learn, if you haven't already done it, if you're not already doing it, practice, learn how to address them in the present tense because they're alive and they do see what we're doing. Remember what God says. There's a cloud of witnesses. Okay, listen to what Kat Kerr says about what she's seen about our loved ones who know everything that's happening down here, about the balcony. There's a balcony that God made for them. They go. Our loved ones go to this balcony whenever we think about them. Kat Kerr was shown that whenever we think about our relatives in heaven, right away they come to the balcony and they come and see us. They look at us. And they're as close to us as the ceiling above us. They can hear, they can see. They are aware of everything that's happening in our lives. So if we are misbehaving, they know. Nothing is hidden from them. So be aware of how you're behaving, okay, guys? Because you're going to get a scolding when you get to heaven, or if God decides to send you to go visit them. You can ask God to tell you to, ask God to go visit your family. You could do that. Keep asking, it'll happen. So if you guys are hearing something, someone is doing some kind of construction work around here. It sounds like they're working with cement, Sorry about the noise. There's somebody, they're constructing like a huge back porch in one of the backyards of the houses. Anyway, and so about my relative, guys, on the day that they were, the last time when I went to go see them, and then right before I left, right, it was 8:30 at night, and right before I left, my relative was watching the hockey game, and we're in Toronto, so my relative loves the Leafs, and I turned on the TV for them, and the game was on, and it made me kind of sad because they couldn't keep awake. They loved to see the Leafs. I'm like, would you like to see the hockey game? It's on. And they're like, okay. So I turned on the TV for them, and I positioned the TV in front of them to see. And I said, look, here they are. And they're like, oh, okay. And then right away, my relative's eyes just, they couldn't keep their eyes open and they closed and they fell asleep. So when they're, when they're about to go, they fall asleep all the time and they can't really keep awake, you know. But, I was happy that I could do that for them. And, so then when it was time for me to leave, at that very hour when it was time for me to just go now, my heart was heavy. Like I said, it was very heavy, a lot of pain, very pained. And I said, okay, I have to go now, okay? And they said, okay. And I walked over to them and I gave them a kiss on their forehead and I placed my hands on their shoulders because it's hard to hug somebody when they're lying down, right? So I did my best to hug them and kiss them on their forehead, I think also on their cheek. And then I said, I love you very much. I love you too, my relative said. And then I stood up and I said, okay, I have to go now. And they said, okay. And as I was leaving, I started walking away towards the door. And I said, goodbye. And my relative said, goodbye. And then right away I stopped myself. Like I stopped walking. And in my head I said, goodbye? No, this is not how I want for things to be right when my relative is about to go to heaven. Not goodbye. This isn't goodbye forever. It's not goodbye. So I turned around and I walked right back. And I stood in front of their bed and I said to my relative, I will see you later, okay? And they say, okay, I'll see you later. And I said, okay. And that was it. I continued walking back towards the exit and I left. Because I knew that I was going to see them again. And so I continued, I left the room and I started walking down the hallway and said goodbye to some of the nurses and I just kept walking. And then, guys, I was just, my heart was so heavy, guys. I was practically dragging myself out of the hospital. Do you understand that expression? When you drag yourself down the hallway, you drag yourself out of that area. It just means that you are so exhausted from grief that it feels like you have to literally, like for example, if you fall to the floor and you have no energy, you have to crawl and drag yourself with as much energy as you can build up to get yourself out of there. That's how my body felt as I was leaving the room, and once I entered into the hallway and all the way down the hallway, I reached the other end, and then I left the palliative care because that's where I was. I was in the area that's called palliative care. That's where people get care until they go, And so then I left the area into the elevator. I was waiting for the elevator, got into the elevator, and from that moment, guys, I was just, from the moment I saw my relative, when I first entered, my heart was so heavy. And then, like I said, as I was going home, I exited. Once I entered into the elevator, I went downstairs and got down to the first floor, exited the elevator, walked out, and guys, oh boy, my heart, my soul was just so, it felt like a boulder. My soul felt so heavy. And I walked to the streetcar stop I could have walked across the street from the hospital and taken the streetcar stop closest to the hospital, but I wanted to walk. Sometimes I do that. I'll just walk. So then I walked a block away, and I waited for the streetcar at the next stop up ahead. So the streetcar came. This was, yes, like I said earlier, in January, in the first video. So the streetcar came, and I got on, paid the fare, and there were a lot of people there. It was packed, so I stayed at the front. People sitting on every seat and people standing everywhere, and I was right behind. I was about 4.5 feet behind the chauffeur, something like that, 4 feet. And hold on, guys. My throat is dry. So I was just there, and then the streetcar started going. When all of a sudden, I wanted to start crying my eyes out, guys. And I was trying so hard to control, for me not to cry, because it was going to come out. Have you guys ever cried when you don't want to cry, but it just comes out very uncontrollably? Like what I mean is, you have no control of stopping it. That's what I mean. I don't mean out of control, like ah! No. Not like that. I'm talking about when you have no control of the emotions that want to come out to cause you to cry. Now that kind of a cry will cause you to cry, like a lot, and that's the kind of cry that you want to contain because of where you are. You don't want, you are in an area where there are other people around, and you don't want for people to see you, because that's a private thing, right? So you want to try to be as private as possible. You don't want anybody to see that that's a private thing, and it's awkward. So oh yeah, I'm just laughing because, like, if you start crying like that, like a crazy person, it's kind of funny, but because it's because you can't control yourself. But anyway, and so there I was trying to hold it in, and I can feel the tears in my eyes, watering and watering, like my eyes were watering. And on my right, there was another passenger, and I was very annoyed by him, because I noticed that from the time that I wanted to start to cry, he right away noticed me, and he could tell that I was going to cry, and I was so annoyed by him, right? And I just kept looking ahead and very annoyed by this guy, and he had no discretion. He was just staring at me like his eyes were glued to my face. I was so annoyed by him, guys. And I was trying so hard, guys, and it was almost just about to come out. I'm like, oh no. Guys, I couldn't control it, like, from the inside. It was so difficult. Like, I was trying so hard to prevent myself from actually tears falling, and then, actually starting like, like crying, right? But guys, it was so hard, and for every stop, like the streetcar would go, and then it would stop, right? Let people off and let people on, and there I was, oh boy, about to cry. And for the longer that I was on the streetcar, I still had like at least half an hour until I got to my house. So I'm like, oh no, it's gonna take that long, and I'm here and I'm about to cry my eyes out. This is not good. I don't want to be here with crying like this if I start crying. And I was like trying to like, oh no, 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 don't cry, Nancy, don't cry. Hold it in, hold it in. You gotta be strong. Hurry up, kind of hold it in, hold it in. You're about to cry. That guy is staring at you. Don't cry, don't cry. But guys, I couldn't do it. Guys, and it was just about to come out, and there's that guy staring at me. He was like I could see him, right? I could see him. He's like, oh, she's gonna cry. She's gonna cry. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. She's gonna cry. And guys, I was so annoyed, guys. I wish I could grab his head and turn it around. But you can't do that. I'm only kidding, guys. I was just very annoyed. And so, guys, this happened for about maybe 10 minutes that I was there, almost about to cry. Almost about to explode with crying so much. And then, guys, it came to the point where I couldn't hold it anymore. And just about when it was about to come out, all the crying, okay, the streetcar had already come to a stop. And I was just about to let it out when suddenly a passenger got on, and they came, they paid their fare, and there was no room for them to go to the back because, like I said, it was packed. Every seat was taken, and many people were standing from the front of the streetcar to the back. So they stayed right in front of me. And I noticed that they had a walker. Okay? A walker is, for some of my friends, okay, who don't know what a walker is, you know, when a person has a disability and they need an aid, they need something to help them to walk. Some people have wheelchairs, right? And others use a walker. A walker has like it has 4 wheels, it has a seat, and it has handlebars. So if you can imagine a little like I'm gonna have to have a picture. Guys, I just created a Facebook blog. In one of my videos in my trip to Little India, I was explaining that I deleted my Facebook blog because it wasn't really going anywhere. And this time I was gonna just make some changes. So I'm going to be, I created one a few days ago in August, at the end of August I created one, and I'm going to have this video there with a picture of a walker. Yeah, so the reason why I also created the new blog is because, like I said, I wanted to make some changes, and I also wanted to put some pictures up of, you know, of the scenery of the places where I go and do video blogging around Toronto. Okay? Alright, so you'll get to see what a walker is. And so this passenger had a walker. And she was I saw her, right? When I first saw her coming in, when she stopped in front of me, I was very annoyed by her. I was extremely annoyed by her because I'm like, oh no, this passenger comes on with this thing. It's so big and clumpy, and it's getting in my way, and she can't go to the back, and now she's got to stay here, and I was so annoyed. Guys, I was really annoyed by her. And then she tried to, like, the walker was, like, when somebody helped her get the walker on because, you know, it was too heavy for her and she needs it. And so the walker was in front of me, and she was next to the walker, in front of the walker. And she was trying to open it up, because when you are bringing a walker onto the streetcar, it's got to be closed up, because so that, it's easier to get on, right? You can get it on. It's wide enough for the walker to get on, but on the streetcar, but you really need to close it up in order to get it onto the streetcar much easier. Then you can open it up and extend it. So she was trying to open it up, but she had a little bit of difficulty, because she was, I don't remember what the issue was, but I think something was happening. I think the streetcar was moving, and she was having difficulty balancing herself to try and, so it was either the guy who kept staring at me, who was trying to help her, or somebody else. But somebody was trying to help her to open up the walker, and they didn't know how to do it, but I did, because my relative had one, or I have it. I have the walker. And so I grabbed the seat, because the seat, it folds, and then you have to move it a certain way. You have to do something in order to open up the walker and flatten the seat. So I did that for the lady, and then she said, "Oh, thank you so much," and she sat down. And you also have to, the walker has locks, right? So she locked it. The handlebars have locks so that the walker doesn't roll, right? And so she sat on the walker. And then she said, "Oh, thank you so much." And guys, from that moment onward, I started to calm down more and more. And with the more that the lady was chatting with me, the more that I was able to control my emotions from keeping me from bursting out in a cry, And I had to compose myself, because I also did compose myself. I forced myself to compose myself, because I was now relating to a passenger who needed help, who was needing help, right? And like I said, the more that I would speak to her and she would speak to me, the less and less that my emotions were wanting to come out and cry like crazy, And the conversation continued for a long time, and it was really nice, and I was very relieved at that point, because my eyes were no longer watering, and I no longer I was no longer about to lose control about crying. And you know what, guys? The guy who kept staring at me, suddenly, he lost interest. He started to look the other way, and he never looked at me again. So I was very annoyed by that. The fact that he was only staring at me because he knew that I was about to cry. Oh, I think it's raining. I felt like a drop on my face. It was raining in the morning, but I didn't see it. Anyway. Oh boy. And so this is what I was talking about in the very beginning of the video, like the first part of the video. How God always brings in something that you're needing at the time to solve a solution, give a solution to something that you're needing, or bring relief to a situation. Whatever answer you're needing, He brings it right at the right moment. So the lady that came onto the streetcar and helped me to calm down, she was somebody that the Holy Spirit knew that I was needing at the time, because I was completely devastated, and I was going to cry uncontrollably, and I didn't want to do that in public. It's very awkward And I don't want people knowing that I'm crying. You want to keep those kinds of moments private, and so that's why I said I'm dedicating this video to her, because she was very, very sweet. Very sweet. And then, throughout our conversation, I began to realize, hey, she's so sweet. Why was I so mean? Why was I so irritated? And in my mind, I was saying, sweet Holy Spirit, thank you so much for bringing her. I was so mean, and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to be mean. I don't know why I was mean. I was so highly irritated by her just because of her just because she brought on a walker that she needs, and which is legal to bring on the city transit, And so I was enjoying so much the conversation, and she was a lifesaver, guys. She really was. And I remember still where she was going, because when we were talking, and she was talking to me about her life, and she was telling me, and how what's happening in her life, and I felt terrible because guys, she was made up of pure sugar. And I will tell you her name. So I would like to meet Patsy. That's her name, Patsy. Because I asked her, what's your name? And she said Patsy, but I couldn't hear her because there was a little bit of noise because of the streetcar. I said, what's your name? She said Patsy. And then she said, like Patsy Cline. And I said, oh, Patsy. And she said, yes. And I said, I'm Nancy. And she said, okay. And Patsy, guys, she's so cute. Patsy looked about maybe 54, between 52 years old and 54. And I'm only 5'3.5", and Patsy was shorter than me, so she was around 4'7". And Patsy was telling me that she was going through some medical guys, once again, my camera's gonna stop recording at 29 minutes and 49 seconds, so I'm gonna stop this here and then continue.